Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chelsea Complaint Box. Yes, I've given it a name. This is now in a playlist on YouTube, so if you have YouTube Music, you can listen to it as a podcast. Yes, I do a lot of visual stuff on the YouTube videos, so I would recommend watching them, but for the most part, you can probably listen to a lot of it. So if you're at work, if you don't have time to watch the video, that's fine. It's available as a podcast on YouTube Music. But before we get into the complaints about Chelsea, I have to say that a bad result from Chelsea was somewhat salvaged by the worst signing in Chelsea's history, throwing away a cup final for Arsenal. Can we all give a round of applause for Kepa? Thank you, Kepa, for giving us a silver lining on another horrid weekend. It'll be interesting to see whether Arsenal just go back to the way they were, because they did not look good in this. And City did that thing of just not pressing them, and it worked quite well, if we're being completely honest. So it'll be interesting to see how teams play against Arsenal for the rest of the season, whether this is a mental thing for Arsenal. I still back them to win the Premier League. They'll still probably get to the Champions League semi-finals or the final. They have to beat Sporting to get to the semis, and they'll probably have to play Barcelona in the semis to get into the final. And they're still in the FA Cup. At least it's not a quadruple, but it still could be a treble. But I doubt it, because there's a reason trebles don't really happen, because they're just really fucking hard, no matter how good you are. But that's enough about Arsenal, because this is a Chelsea show. Chelsea lost 3-0 to Everton. And as much as there was a lot of articles, for example, Simon Johnston immediately made it about mounting pressure on Rafinha. This very much seems like the issues at Chelsea right now kind of transcend him. Yes, he's not been good the last couple weeks. Yes, if he got sacked this morning, if he got sacked before in the international break at any point, if he left, I wouldn't care. But it kind of feels like the universe wants this season to happen for Chelsea. I said this the other day. I said that, yes, Chelsea haven't been great, but things aren't really going our way in terms of the luck that teams like Villa and Manchester United are getting, as well as sometimes how unlucky we've been in games in certain points, especially with certain things in games, as I said, and injuries as well. It feels like this season needs to happen, and what you feel like is that if Chelsea don't get in the Champions League, something has to change structurally at the football club. So I'm going to go into some things that could happen, things that probably won't happen, because again, I'm not saying these things are going to happen, because I can't sit here and just be a pessimist all the time. I have to talk about ways in which Chelsea can get out of this shit, because they're in the shit, right? And when you look at the remaining games that Chelsea have, Man City at home after the international, Port Vale, then Man City at home after the international break, Man United at home, away at Brighton, at home against Forest, Anfield, Spurs, and then I believe we go to the Stadium of Light. Yes. It's not easy. But there's 2 games in there against Man United and against Liverpool, where if you win those games, you're in a good position, because there's 6-point swings in this top 4 race, because United and Liverpool are in that top 4 race. So Chelsea need to butt their ideas up. And if we're being honest, Liam Rossini is going to be here till the end of the season. There's been some murmurings from the Simon Phillips area of journalism, Chelsea journalism, that Chelsea can get rid of Rafinha for free if he doesn't get in the Champions League. I don't know what validity there is to that, but we'll see. But we've got some games in between then and now to sort out, as well as the FA Cup. Now, again, a lot of it will be about Rafinha, and there were videos of players, sort of dejected players, clapping the away fans after the game, and Rafinha dapping all of them up and stuff like that, and a lot of people trying to read into it as this thing of they don't like him, they don't rate him, all of this stuff. I don't know. I don't really like to speculate those things. I wasn't doing that under Maresca either. I saw a lot of people, some people still keep bringing up the fact that Cole Palmer ignored tactics in the Club World Cup and Conference League finals, and that's why we won. I really feel sorry for you if you're that monumentally dense, but I don't really like to read into because the players are not going to look happy whether they like the coach or not, because they lost the game 3-0. And the away fans weren't that complimentary of them and the coach when they went over. And the problem I have with this is that like all three of the YouTube videos I've uploaded before this have been really negative. And I don't really know what much else there is to say. So I'm going to try and talk about one of the goals that Chelsea conceded. I might talk about Sanchez because there was a back and forth I had on Twitter that I think was interesting to highlight about Rob Sanchez because, you know, he has pretty poor save or not a save for their second or third goal. I can't remember. It's all a bit of a blur at this point. But I want to talk about the first goal. I know EBL is a bit of a controversial account because a lot of people think he's an Arsenal fan. But this is an interesting thing to highlight here. So this is as Everton are about to score. So Chelsea were in a bit more of a less aggressive 4-4-2 when they were pressing the ball yesterday, with the two being João Pedro and Enzo Fernandez, and Palmer would be on the right, as we can see. For Everton's goal, the press starts, we're going man to man, and James Garner is the one here showing for the ball. Enzo Fernandez, as EBL suggests, should be coming across to mark James Garner. That's what should be happening. So this is one of the reasons why Enzo Fernandez leaving is such a divisive topic in the Chelsea fan base, because everyone knows his on-ball qualities are incredible. But off the ball, he has lapses in concentration. He's probably not as smart off the ball as the other midfielders that Chelsea have. So it's like how much he doesn't provide much balance or enough balance for some people. And this is one of the reasons why. So then Enzo doesn't track his man here, but James Garner still has a lot to do to set up this goal. Look, James Garner's here, Beto's here. There's still a lot that needs to happen, and there's a lot that Chelsea can stop in that time. James Garner eventually gets the ball here, and as you can see, before that, Moises Caicedo is over here next to Idrissa Gueye. Lavia is here, so Lavia is in the position to screen this. Lavia just stands there. He kind of jogs he doesn't even try and screen this pass at all. And Caicedo, like this is the problem I had, and I said this. This is what I said after this goal on Twitter. I said, the goal is another example of Caicedo's midfield partner, in this game Lavia, expecting him to apply pressure on the ball, Caicedo to apply pressure on the ball, despite being 10 yards further away from it. Lavia just stands there. Like, when you look at the screenshot before, Caicedo's over here, Garner's here. Lavia's in a position to screen if Garner turns, because Garner's allowed to turn because Enzo's not pressing him. Lavia just stands there. And this is what I mean. It's like, in like January or whatever, I got a load of pelters on Twitter for suggesting that Romeo Lavia is bad defensively. Like, you can say Santos and Asugo are not as good on the ball as Lavia is, and they don't have that skill that Lavia has to beat pressure and all of that stuff. But at least they take this side of the game remotely seriously. Because they do. Like Santos and Asugo do, right? Like they take defending seriously. They, amongst Moises Caicedo, were in the top 10 in Europe last season for like tackles and interceptions per 90. Like, they take this side of the game seriously when their team doesn't have the ball. Lavia doesn't. So Lavia doesn't screen this. But then Fofana, and someone made the point that the defence is square on, that Fofana's square on when Beto's on him. He's too square on, and that's how Beto gets the jump on him and gets him behind. But when the goal goes in, Fofana isn't even trying to make a tackle, and you can see he's pointing at Sanchez to try and get Sanchez to save a one-on-one. The lack of accountability in this goal and how this goal happens is a really nice microcosm for what is going on at Chelsea. Two players, Fofana earns so much money. He earns so much money for a guy that this is his only season where he's been able to stay remotely fit, right? Lavia has what? What's Lavia's contract? Lavia's contract runs for another 4 years. We signed him 3 years ago, basically. 3 years ago this summer, we signed him. And his contract he got a 7-year contract. He's not played. He's played 1,000 Premier League minutes for Chelsea. Not this season, 1,000 Premier League minutes in 3 seasons that he's been at Chelsea. Like, you know, he isn't, if this is true according to Capology, he's not earning an insane amount per week compared to some of his teammates. But like, these guys are cozy in their contracts. And this is what I've been saying about the length of the contracts. Like, the length of the contracts are good because when the player's good, you're keeping hold of them, right? And it means that if they really want to leave, you can get a good amount of money for them because they've got a long time left on their contract. But like when you have players here that are not performing, are not staying fit, you can't get off them. And they're cozy because they're getting paid and they're locked in. Like Lavia is earning 5 million a year or whatever it was. Is it 5 million a year? No, sorry, 3 million a year. Don't know where I got 5 million from. 3 million a year to just be injured. Like that is just as bad as like some dudes getting overpaid. So this is what I mean. So when I look at that goal, I'm just like, it's, you know, like Enzo Fernandez, he doesn't press. Yeah, like that's not good. But like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, where's the accountability from Lavia to try and stop that pass from Ghana? Where's the accountability from Fofana to try and defend this properly? Because if this is going in behind Gabriel Saliba, who weren't good yesterday, by the way, then they are pushing Beto to the side. They are ushering that so Raya can come out and collect it. That is not happening. And to me, Wesley Fofana is giving off this thing of like, you know, I just want to go now. And if he's like that, because there's murmurings that he wants to go back to Marseille, if he's checked out, as to me it kind of seems like he is, then play Josh instead of him. Like, I don't care anymore because he just isn't good. He hasn't been good the second half of this season. He was great the first half of the season. He seemed locked in. He was staying fit, all of this stuff. Now he doesn't care. I don't know whether he has a chance of getting in the France squad. Maybe he's trying not to get injured again and all that stuff. I don't know. But he's just unserious. So that's the thing for the goal. The first goal. And the second goal, obviously Rob Sanchez makes a mess of it. But again, I'm going to sit here and defend Rob Sanchez. I'm going to defend Rob Sanchez again. I'm sorry if people don't like that. I just am. Rob makes this tweet saying Sanchez needs to be moved on and that he's a problem and all this stuff. And, you know, I don't think Sanchez is the best goalkeeper in the world, but I don't think goalkeepers are as important as people think they are. Now, that sounds insane, but let me land. The whole point of coaching a defence in a team is to stop the amount of dangerous shots you give up, right? Which is basically just protecting the goalkeeper from good shots. So when you're good at it, like, for example, Arsenal, and you limit your team to under 2.5 shots a game, which is like what most title challenging teams do, right? 2.5 shots on target a game. They limit their opponents to. Raya's facing 2.5 shots on target every game this season. He's protected. And Raya makes mistakes. He threw 2 points away against Wolves for them a few weeks ago, where he goes up for that cross. Him and Gabriel go for the same cross. It's spilt. And then Wolves score from that equaliser. Arsenal draw with the worst team in the league. But that shit doesn't matter because Arsenal win and they're 9 points clear at the top of the league. So people don't remember that stuff. When Chelsea are in free fall, everything else is going wrong. And then there's a Sanchez, he has a moment in there. Everyone thinks it's his fault. Like when he's being subjected to the defenders in front of him just giving up good shots against them all the time. Like that's it. What's going to happen is he's going to have some moments because Sanchez is not Courtois. He is not Alisson, right? Like he is not these dudes. He is not Oblak, right? He isn't this sort of generational shot stopper that these other dudes are, but neither's David Raya. But the reason David Raya is considered the best goalkeeper in the world is because he has a defence in front of him that means he doesn't face anything. Like, this is what I mean, and this is what I'm saying. Like, if you improve the defence, if you limit the opposition team to 2 or 3 shots on target per game instead of like 5, then Sanchez is going to immediately look better because I don't understand how anyone can deny the fact at this point in time that Rob Sanchez is a good goalkeeper. He just is. Like, he's a good shot stopper. He's decent with his feet. When you let him play long, he's good at playing long. He's quite accurate with his long passes. And he claims crosses at a world-class level. Like, those things are fine if you have a good team in front of him that's going to protect him from dangerous shots. And again, I know people don't like the idea of goalkeeper being protected, but it's the entire point of the game of football. You shouldn't be allowing your keeper to be facing a load of really good shots. Like, and this is what the point I was trying to make to Rob. It's like, you know, he faces 2 or 3 shots, he fumbles one consistently. I don't think that's true. I think he faces like this last couple of weeks, he's facing an insane amount of shots on target, right? And throughout, Rafinha's been here. We've been worse defensively. Like the shots he's faced, like when you face this many shots and you aren't Courtois, shit's gonna happen. So that's why I don't think. So, like, this is the thing. If Colwell's fit and you sign a good centre back, right? Like, if next season you go into it and it's like Colwell and like Van Hecker or something, because I know a lot of people have been talking about Van Hecker because he was really good against Liverpool. Like, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to the signing, especially considering, you know, the price that it could probably take. Say you get Van Hecker and he's like good, experienced Premier League centre back, right? More, like used to the modern game, all this stuff, and you play him next to Colwell, right? That instantly improves the defence, right? If you bolster up the midfield, like if Chelsea improve defensively, which we all know Chelsea need, like that's the one thing Chelsea should do right now is improve defensively. Sanchez doesn't face anywhere near as many shots and he looks better. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, that's what I think about the Sanchez stuff, because like, again, like when Chelsea are in free fall, when he's having moments because he's getting absolutely peppered, like, he's going to look bad. So, yeah. I just don't, you know, this game very much felt like, you know, that there's a thing there of the club doesn't feel all in on this anymore. There's a very mixed feel, like, you know, what Enzo Fernandez has been saying. There's just this feeling, which I don't like talking about feeling quite a lot because I think a lot of it gets pushed a lot online without much sort of actual evidence of it. But like there is this feeling of like a lot of these players are like, right, we need to change something here. Not the coach, like maybe the coach as well as other things. They're like, whatever you're doing above the coach at boardroom level, I don't know. Like, again, like Enzo Fernandez seems to be pretty confused as to why Enzo Maresca got moved on. Like, there's no transparency there if that's the case. Like, yeah. And as I say, it feels like the universe wants this season to happen for Chelsea. And if it wants this season to happen for Chelsea and you're getting unlucky, but there is genuine issues there that you can identify, it would be complete malpractice for the club and the board to go into the summer and be like, oh, we were a bit unlucky this season with injuries. And like the universe is kind of telling, like football's kind of telling you that you need to change something. So change something. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have much other thoughts for this, to be honest. Because it feels like I have to do the same video every time we lose recently. You know, I just want to win a game. So yeah. But what should Chelsea do? What should Chelsea do to sort this out? Well, there's some things that have happened over the last week or so that are quite interesting. Now, I'm going to go into this and I'm not going to say that this is going to happen. I don't think it will, because it requires a lot of humility from the private equity dudes, which doesn't happen. It requires people to admit they were wrong, which doesn't really happen at that level of Begdad Bali and all that stuff. It requires a lot of stuff, right? So last November, earlier on in the season, Chelsea brought on board Dave Fallows, who was from Liverpool, and he joined Chelsea as sporting director, football development. So he's on the board, essentially, the footballing hierarchy, the footballing leadership team. And he was ex-Liverpool. And he was at Liverpool when the Klopp thing was going on, Michael Edwards thing was going on. And it very much seemed like this appointment was, you know, an adult in the room type scenario where like, oh, this guy's got a history of like building a winning team, like quite efficiently at a huge club like Liverpool. So let's bring him in and sort all this shit out. And JBS, who is just a Chelsea fan on Twitter, tweeted something about this yesterday. Fallows feels like a trigger to add a little extra in what's needed to move forward. Points Danny Lawrence-Stewart focused on a full rebuild, which is just extremely overlooked. This appointment was mostly predictable in a good way. It's the consistent levelling up of appointments like FSG did. Not a strict parallel as Bowley spent before a structure, plus Liverpool was in more stable state in 2010 and no stadium hurdles. It's raising, rebuild, bettering appointments for our longevity. maximising status 2.5 years before Rodgers, 5 until Klopp, 2 years of Comolli before Edwards, etc. So this was when Fallows got appointed, and he obviously went back to this, and he's highlighted a report that came out of Liverpool this week that Michael Edwards is not happy at Liverpool. He's come in, and he has come in as a role at Fenway, not at Liverpool. Fenway, who own Liverpool and the Red Sox and all this stuff, but as president of like football, like he's the football CEO, right, of Fenway. He was the sporting director or director of football at Liverpool under Klopp, right? And he's like the wizard, right? He's like the dude, like, you know, Liverpool were like, you know, the first elite team to do the Brighton and Brentford thing of like, we're going to use data like a lot and we're going to show everyone up by not spending as much money as everyone else. But like, yeah, like this is the dude. Him and Dave Fallows were the guys that were like, Jurgen Klopp wanted Julian Brandt famously, and they're like, no, we're getting Mo Salah. Like they're those him and Dave Fallows are those two dudes, right? So that's just like one thing they did. Like obviously they signed like Mane. For me, like all these players that ended up winning Liverpool everything under Jurgen Klopp. He's not happy because Liverpool, like over half the teams in the Premier League, want to be a multi-club model, like Chelsea are, like Man City are, you know, like Crystal Palace are in, right? Like these Bournemouth are in it as well. These multi-club models that create a network of teams that you can use to develop players and do all these fun business transfer things that, you know, are much more efficient and self-sustaining and stuff like that. But Liverpool acquiring another team for this multi-club ownership, the project is completely dormant, as James Pearce of The Athletic says. It's completely dormant, like it's not happening. And the multi-club stuff was something that Michael Edwards quite literally name-checked in his statement when he rejoined in this role. He said, we want another team. We want multiple clubs in Liverpool's ownership model. And that's what I want to do. And I'm looking forward to doing it. And they're not doing it. So there's this idea and report from James Pearce, who I know Liverpool fans meme a lot of the time, that he's frustrated with the situation. So then you go back to 2022 when Michael Edwards had left Liverpool at that point, right? And he wanted to take a sabbatical. Who approached him for a role at Chelsea? Todd Boehly did, alongside Real Madrid and PSG. Michael Edwards wanted a break from football. Real Madrid, PSG and Chelsea all showed interest in him when he left Liverpool. This was more Todd Boehly led because Todd Boehly was more... These adverts are so weird, I'm sorry. This was more Todd Boehly left because he was more in charge at the time. This was like when they'd just taken over. So when you talk about what JBS has said here, there's this idea that Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart are the rebuild dudes, right? But they're the dudes that come in and they get the squad to a point where you just need to get that final bit of quality, right? Which there'll be sort of various differences in opinion on how close Chelsea are from an actual player perspective. But there's no denying that you've seen flashes that Chelsea are very close to competing at the level that they want to be competing again. The way they play against big teams, like they've played against PSG, Barcelona, some games against Arsenal in the last year. Like these are the best teams in Europe and Chelsea have beaten them or competed against them. Like Chelsea seem very close, but they're missing a bit of quality. So what the idea, a lot of people think, is they're a little bit more conservative and considered about the way Chelsea are going, is that Paul Stanley and Lawrence Stewart, their task was to come in and rebuild that squad and get it to that point, and then you get some winners and adults in the room at board level, and then Chelsea make those final steps. Which also explains why Spurs want Paul and Stanley. Because Paul and Stanley can go into Spurs and he can bring their wage bill down, like he's done with us. He can start making signings earlier than Spurs would be wanting to, and do all of these things and gut the club and make it more healthy and self-sustaining, which people can have their own opinions on whether Chelsea are that right now. I'm not financially savvy enough to give an overarching opinion, but that's the idea of what Paul and Stanley has done here. And he can do that with Spurs. And then once Spurs are at that point, they're one or two steps away, they can then get those adults in the room. So when people talk about, Chelsea should go and get Luis Campos or all these other dudes, right? The idea there is probably, there is a theory there that that's what Chelsea are going to do once they feel like they're at that point where they're going to do that. Because if you bring someone like Michael Edwards or Luis Campos in, these are dudes that are going to want to make the biggest signings immediately, make the signings that are going to take Chelsea to being a title-challenging team. But Chelsea might not be in the position right now to do that. So let's see. It feels like there's a lot of things moving around right now that could lead to Chelsea getting a hold of someone like Michael Edwards, which would I don't care about the coach that much. If they bring him in, that's the best thing they can do, is appoint him as director of football at Chelsea. That's the best thing they could do. Not sign a specific player, hire a specific coach, hire Michael Edwards. This is he is the dude. He is the director of football that every club in the world wants, the dream one that everyone wants, because he is considered, right? He's very data-driven. He's modern, right? Like he doesn't spend a fuck ton of money or anything like that. Like, he is the gold standard. Like, he's the best in the business. Chelsea, with all of their structural issues, he could come in and say, this needs to happen. The problem I have is that Baghdad Agbali, I don't know whether he wants to concede that power. That's the problem I have. I don't know whether he wants to concede that power. But it's getting to a point now where Chelsea's value isn't going up. Their revenues are not going up. Like, the success and the financial success of a football club is intrinsically linked to the football club's results. If Chelsea are not in the Champions League every season, they are not improving in how far they're getting into the Champions League. They're not winning trophies. They're not challenging for league titles. All of this stuff. Chelsea are not going to improve as an asset for Clear Lake in the long term. So there has to come a point where Baghdad Agbali goes, you know what, this isn't working. I'm going to let some actual football people make decisions, and I'm going to leave it alone. So that's the optimistic view of what Chelsea do right now, is that there is a director of football that comes in the summer, and it looks like Michael Edwards is getting frustrated and maybe could be pried away from Fenway. But let's see about that stuff. And then you get into this thing of a lot of people seem to provide this opinion that Chelsea's are too data-driven. They're too data-driven, and that's why they aren't doing well. Chelsea, all of the bad signings Chelsea have made are not data-driven signings. As Dimitri says here, Rayan Cherki is an example of a player that everyone loves to watch. That he did keepy-ups in the middle of the game when they were 1-0 up in the final yesterday. He's a joy to watch. He's always passing forward, right? He's always trying to find a pass forward. He keeps onto the ball, hold of the ball, just so he doesn't pass backwards. He's so amazing to watch as a player. He's so refreshing, right? He's good on the eye, but his data is also amazing. This is his data from Lyon last season. He's the best last season he was the best creator in world football. He just was, right? And he's a decent finisher. He's got a decent amount of goals from not many shots and all that. This is a really good player, and he was available for 30 million. I remember, if you overlay this over Florian Wirtz from last season as well, him and Florian Wirtz are the same player. And City got him for 30 million because Lyon are in such a financial hole, and Liverpool paid 125. Turns out Ligue 1 is easier to translate from than the Bundesliga, and Rayan Cherki has been kind of like a duck to water in the league, whereas Florian Wirtz has struggled. But there's a lot of other structural issues around him at Liverpool that are forcing that, and Man City are just outright a better team. So I'll cut Wirtz some slack, but it's not about Wirtz here. Chelsea are not following data enough. This is Pedro Neto's last season at Wolves. He wasn't a good goal scorer at all. And he couldn't stay fit. Yes, he had these decent numbers in carries and assists and all that stuff, but this guy doesn't score. And then you get Michael Elise, who this isn't Palmer this season, or this is Cole Palmer's best season. This is his 45 goal contribution season under Pochettino, his first season for Chelsea. And this is Elise in the same season for Palace. Elise was a top 5 player in the Premier League at Palace. He was just hiding there, had a couple injuries, and you again, like it feels insane to call a player at Palace one of the top 5 players in the league, but he was, and he was there, and Chelsea could have got him for the same price that they got Pedro Neto for, but they had to sort of alter the wage bill a little bit to get Elise in. Like, they weren't giving him the money that he wanted. Like, if Chelsea had a data-driven model, we would have a front line right now of like Elise, Palmer, Barcola, and you would have kept Jackson. Like, that's it, like the data driven thing isn't the issue. Chelsea don't follow it enough. So when you have someone like Michael Edwards, who his whole thing is data, like he built, like, for example, the book How to Win the Premier League, written by Ian Graham. Ian Graham was a data analyst at Liverpool under Michael Edwards. Like, these dudes, like this graph I'm showing here is not even 1% probably as sophisticated as the data models that these data analysts at top clubs use. But like, everything suggested that Chelsea should just sign Michael Elise. Like, just sign him. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the data suggested that Chelsea should just sign Rayan Cherki and like worry about his pressing later. But they don't do that. So like, this idea that a lot of people go on about, that Chelsea, this is what happens when you get data driven. Like, the bad players that Chelsea are signing are not data driven signings. They aren't. Like, they're networking signings. They're Rolodex signings. Like, it has nothing to do with data. So when you bring in someone like Michael Edwards, who's going to be an adult in the room, if we had Michael Edwards the whole time, he would have gone, no, just sign Michael Elise. I know he wants a lot of money, but he's one of the best players in the world, and he wants to join you, and you're getting him for like a third of his actual value. Like, just sign him. But again, like, these guys, Paul and Stanley and Lawrence Stewart, they come in and this isn't their thing. It's not their thing to sign these, like this is a dude you pay him the most money at the football club and he's like going to be your best player, right? Alongside Palmer, right? They're going to be like, no, this guy's actually, he's half the price and he could be good. There's like a 40% chance he's just as good. Like, so that's where I land with all that. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out because, again, I'm not seeing the benefits as of yet of Fallows being in, but his first summer window is coming up. So let's see how it goes, because Chelsea were never going to do anything in January. So those are some things to chew on a little bit, because I could sit here and bitch about what's going on at the football club, but I've done that the last 3 videos. Like, I'd love for Chelsea to win a game, so I can make a video about it. But yeah, Liam Rossini is not going to go before the end of the season. It's just not going to happen. I don't think people should be getting their hopes up for this stuff. Like, it just isn't. It's not going to happen. So, when you look at what Chelsea have left, there's an international break where you have a bunch of players going away with their national teams, and Bricinho has said that he is going to be looking at what they need to improve on over the international break with his team, his backroom staff, his analysts, all that stuff. And then we have sort of a bit of an easy ride in with Port Vale. Again, I always get very trepidatious about saying this is obviously going to be a win, because who knows what happens. We lost to Bradford like 10 years ago at home. But then you go straight to Man City, who, again, they will be revitalised in this title race because they beat Arsenal in the final yesterday. So if you want to win that game, you're going to have to be on it. Like, City are not beached at all. They're never beached in these title races. So that's going to be very tough. Man United, you have to win against Man United. Like, I don't think Man United are that good. I think they've benefited a lot from red cards this season. I saw all their fans bitching about them not getting a penalty against Bournemouth on Friday night. Unfortunately, like, you've been given like 11 red cards and penalties this season. Like, and that's like a borderline. Is like, I'm not mad that that's not been given a penalty. So like, I think we can beat Man United. Brighton away is going to be tough. They just beat Liverpool. Forest at home will, like, all these games are tough except for probably Spurs. But like, Chelsea have to win in this murderous run. They just have to. Like, I don't know what else to say, really. Go to Anfield. Liverpool are crap, but so are we at times. Like, you know, and it's at Anfield. We haven't won at Anfield since COVID. Like, this is what I mean. So Chelsea just have to find a way to win these games. Like, it's just the truth. And maybe the international break will help them recalibrate, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm just sat here. I feel like every video has been the same, but there's some things there to chew on. I might do some England stuff in the international break. I'm not sure. Maybe there might be some Chelsea stuff that comes up, some news. There's always is sometimes with international breaks. So, yeah. And please subscribe, because that shows that you're enjoying the videos and that I'm going to make more of them. So, yeah.